Good morning. Welcome to Morning Brew with it's your girl Germaine, and we are back here for our Mixed Blend Wednesdays. And we have our resident guest who comes on like the second Wednesday of every month. But before I bring Charles Williams Jr. in, let me just kind of set up what today's brew is all about. So hopefully everybody's doing well. I'll give you a few minutes. I'm drinking my coffee this morning. Yes, I've been on my homemade tea, lemon, and ginger to kill a cold. But today I'm drinking pecan caramel. Yep, pecan caramel coffee with some hazelnut creamer, and it's pretty good. But let's get into this because, on Wednesdays we can't keep Charles long because he has another prior engagement. Okay, so with that being said, today's Mixed Blend Wednesday is going to be obedience is better than sacrifice. Following our path without looking back. Okay. So, as you all know, Charles is a two-time Emmy Award-winning producer, founder of WEG Media Group. There comes a moment in life when we must decide whether we will keep holding onto comfort, fear, and familiarity, or trust the path we've been called to walk. Today's conversation with Charles Williams Jr. explores the powerful truth behind the phrase, obedience is better than sacrifice. All right, let me go ahead and bring him on. Okay, further ado.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm fair to Midland, as we say down south. A lot of people say, what does that mean, fair to Midland? That means you're a little bit well or you're a little bit not well, so you're just somewhere in the middle.
That's how I'm feeling today. I tell you, coming back, with this cold, all this stuff catching up. And for some reason, today was that morning when I got up early this morning working. I just said, I need 5-10 minutes. I just need to close my eyes 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I think it's a changing of the weather. I think it's a lot of travel. And I think there are times when we don't allow our bodies to rest.
Exactly.
Mentally, physically, or spiritually.
Exactly. Well, listen, let's get into this because this is a phrase that, we normally say. We get it from the Bible. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So why is this on you so strong today?
Well, it's been part of my mantra for years. I usually say this to people in passing. If I hear something or somebody has a conversation with me, I'll say, look, obedience is better than sacrifice. Some people laugh and they laugh it off, but what it really means to me as a child when I was growing up, my mother would always say, if you do it right the first time, you don't have to do it a second time. But every time you do something wrong, you have to go back and you have to make sacrifices in other ways or with other situations in order to accomplish the same goal if you had done it in the right place. So obedience, do the right thing the first time, whether it's mentally, physically, socially, or spiritually. If you do the right thing the first time, you don't have to go back and try to figure out, okay, now how do I do this? How do I play catch up when everybody else is up the road? So obedience is better than sacrifice. It's better to do it well the first time and do your homework where you can be prepared, opposed to have to come back and make sacrifices where you may not be at your A game because you didn't follow the path that you should have followed. And sometimes obedience also can refer to getting on the path and staying on the path, because sometimes we will get on the road and we will start going down the road, and because things are not happening immediately, we want to stop. Then we want to know what happened because you stopped. Or we have those influences in our lives or in our circle who tries to discourage us from doing what we should be doing because it's not their vision, it was your vision. You were given the vision. They don't even understand the vision you were given. So there's sometimes you have to walk the journey alone and not look back until you get there. Then you can pull others up with you. I think a lot of times we try to pull everybody up with us and we don't even know where we're going yet.
That's a good point. That is a very good point because I'm guilty of that also. You want to include everybody, but everybody's not assigned to that journey with you,
True, very true.
you know? So before we continue on, I just want to say over on Instagram, thank you, Anthony Jones 960, for joining in. Thank you, Yvonne underscore Cavanaro too. Thank you so much for chiming in. First time seeing you guys join the morning brew conversation. So feel free to chime in if you have any questions. Let us know where you're chiming in from. It's always good to know where people are connecting from also throughout the universe. So, in listening to you, I don't think we really understand the power of that word obedience. You know, Sometimes obedience means walking away from what no longer serves us.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the thing is, it's hard for us to say no. So you talking about walking away from something that no longer serves you. You keep yourself locked in a prison that only prolongs you getting to purpose.
Yeah, because what happens over time, we start doing something or participating in something, or even the friends that are in our circle, we get so comfortable with those people, and if we stay there, we can't grow. I was having a conversation on our show, A Men's Corner, this
Mhm.
weekend, and one of the guests said to me, one of the producers who we interviewed him about his new movie, Ricky, and what he said he learned in school that he was telling one of his classmates, just go home and ask your father. And his classmate looked at him and said, I don't have a father at home. And it
Mhm.
dawned on him that I'm looking at everything through my eyes where I have a father and a mother at home, but everybody is not, doesn't have that situation going on. So he
No.
had to learn how to see things through other folks' eyes. And that's what we do sometimes. I think we judge people based on our perception of things and how we would have done things, or saying that is a different human being. And we want people to be as happy about our journey as we are, but it's not their journey.
Yes.
Sometimes you
That
can
is
interfere. It's that old saying that if you knew the ending of the movie before the movie starts, you will try to alter the movie. So if you knew the ending of your life, you would try to do things to alter your life. But what we don't understand, you alter one thing in your life, it can be a cascade of different things changing.
mm,
And some of the things, because I think about my journey in the business my profession I've had for the last 40 years. There
mhm.
are certain things that were put in place, and if I hadn't walked the path, or if I had deviated from the path that I was on, those things would have never happened. It's called preparation meeting opportunity. And a lot of
Mhm.
us don't do the preparation. So when the opportunity presents itself, we're not ready. And we want to know, well, they didn't give me this position, or they didn't give me the job, or they didn't give me they didn't let me participate because they didn't like me. No, you were not prepared to do the job, and no one has the confidence in you. So we go back to obedience. Do the work. Stay
Yes,
fast in terms of what you have to learn, even if you're in a room by yourself learning something. So by the time
absolutely.
you learn it, you become an expert at it. When people bring you into their space, they go, I can count on this person to tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, or how to progress down the road, you know?
I'm a firm believer that sometimes you don't have to say anything because your work will speak for you, but it's like go gain the knowledge. Gain the knowledge. So when you're ready, when the time comes, you just literally step right into it.
Yeah, yeah. It's about perfecting your way into success. And a lot of
I
us,
love that.
there's two things that we do, I think. I think we give up right before the blessing or the greatness is going to happen, because
Mhm.
sometimes we're chosen to do certain things and we kind of shy away from them because why me? Why was I chosen to do X, Y, and Z? Why can't I go and be like everybody else? Because you were not chosen, you were not born, you were not put on this earth to do that. You have a mission to do and you have to accomplish your mission. And sometimes when you're chosen by the higher being, you're going to do it. It's going to be done, because you're going to keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over until you realize, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be going left, not right, just because everybody else is going right. You have to really learn how to be obedient to your own path, because once you get off that road, guess what? You still got to get on the road. So now you got to make all these sacrifices to play catch up. Oh, I have to drop this. I can't do this now because I got to get back on the road. to my journey on my path. And a lot of us, we don't realize that our lives are kind of on a path. We have free will to change stuff, but
Mhm.
we're here for a reason. And as most of you guys know, I've talked about on this podcast about every life is connected to another life. So
Yes.
we have to really be in tune with that. The people who are coming in and out of our spaces are there to help us grow. And if we keep the wrong people in our spaces, we back up. And I tell young people when I'm talking to them all the time, you have to move the rock forward every day. If you don't move the rock at all, you're falling behind because life passes you by and time keeps going. Time never stops. So if you pause, you're steps behind time. You're behind the time clock, and now you got to play catch up again because every day you need to doing something towards your goal, whether spiritually, mentally, socially, spiritually, whatever it is. You have to be on your path every day, and you have to get up with a purpose because life is precious, and you have to get up with a purpose and try to fulfill those goals. You're not going to be perfect out the box. I was trying to get introduce a new client to a podcast, and I had to tell
Mhm.
her, "You're not going to be perfect outside the box. I expect for you to be bad, but as long as you get on the track and start
Right.
running, guess what? Your legs will get stronger. Your muscles will get stronger. You'll start saying, hey, I can do this. And most importantly, mentally, you will free yourself from that mental chain of saying what I can't do versus saying what I can do.
Listen, I can attest to that because that sounded like the same speech you gave me. Stop stop trying to make sure it's perfect. Dirty it up some. Listen, just be you.
Yes.
And you literally would critique me and let me know, nope, do it again. No, mm-mm. It feels like you're trying to perform it. Just genuinely be who you are.
You
Just
try
go
to
with the
act like
flow.
a host or act like an anchor or act like
Yes.
a voiceover person, a big you. I think we live in a society right now where people are looking for authentic behavior. They're not looking for folks to just perform. If
That's
you
right.
have a high pitched voice, you have a high pitched voice. If you have a deep
Exactly.
voice, or if you have a southern sound to your voice, be that southern person. You know, when I started in broadcasting many years ago, you had to have that standard way of sounding. This is Charles Williams for this and that and that. But now people can relax and speak the way that they speak. The most important thing is what are you communicating, and if
Mhm.
people can understand what you're trying to convey to them. It's not the way you say it; it's what you're saying. I tell people with podcasts all the time. So many people kind of dress up these podcasts. I got to have a $100,000 set. I got to have the best cameras in the world. But if you don't have a story, none of that matters. Nobody's going to listen, or no one's going to watch you.
Absolutely. This is the month we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary, right?
Hmm.
And for me, it's such a huge accomplishment when I think back to the many years that I kept telling you I started a podcast, I wasn't consistent with it, I dropped the podcast, and then one day you was like, just do it.
Just
That's
do
it.
it. Like the
Just
Nike
do it.
commercials, just do it. But that goes back to obedience is better than sacrifice. Who are you
Yes.
being obedient to first? When you make a commitment to yourself, whether that's to get healthier, to do a project you want to work on, or start a podcast, that is being obedient to you. Now,
Yeah.
what will happen? Oh, and I'm a testament to this. You
Mhm.
decide you're going to do something, all of a sudden everything starts falling apart around you.
Absolutely.
This has a problem, the child has a
Absolutely.
problem, husband, wife, this person, oh, somebody has an emergency, but you're supposed to be doing your podcast at 10:30.
Absolutely.
What's the problem? Are you being obedient? Are you going to have to make sacrifices? You know,
You're
sometimes
right.
we have to be dedicated to what we say we're going to do. And a lot of people who are independent contractors,
Mhm.
sometimes when they first start out being independent contractors, whether they're doing a podcast or selling cologne or selling makeup or whatever the case might be, we don't treat it like a job. We will let people come in and interfere with what we're doing. But if you were on a job with a 9 to 5 where somebody was paying you a salary, you wouldn't
Mhm.
let them come into your space and disrupt what you're doing. You would say, "Look, I'm at work. I can't talk to you right now." And I think as entrepreneurs, I think people need to look at that and realize that is the job. And people love consistency. If you say I'm coming on at 12 noon every Wednesday or every Thursday, every Friday, or every Saturday at 7 p.m. People are looking for that. I was on a streaming service on Monday, and I was looking for this show, and I didn't see it. And I'm still trying to find out what happened to the show because we're so used to going to this particular streaming service to listen to and participate in this discussion until it felt like, wait, what happened? Because once you build an audience, I heard somebody say that about um, the comedian Wayne, and they said
Country
Wayne,
Wayne.
yeah, Country Wayne. Wayne didn't build a platform. Wayne built an audience who came to his platform. So
Ah,
that means wherever he goes, his audience will follow him.
excuse me. I love that. You know, you talked about, because I think that's one of the things I struggled with in the beginning. I was just looking at, first of all, having the right mindset to say, I'm going to do this and be committed to it.
Hmm.
And then I decided to say, I'm going to do this. Remember, it started 7 days a week. And then one day I was in Texas actually, and I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I said, okay, 5 days a week, even 5 days a week. The one thing I get from people, how are you able to do that 5 days a week? It was somebody that chimed in the comments and said, well, what time should we expect you? And that's when I locked in 10:30.
Yep.
I locked in 10:30, and it's just been consistent. I may be a minute too over, but most of the times it's 10:30, we're going live. And then that's another thing, going live. You said we're not editing. Go live. I'm saying what?
Because you go live, you start feeling comfortable how you convey yourself to people, what you have to say, even the guests you have on. You understand there's no safety net. You can't go back and say, let's redo that
Absolutely.
again. You may tell your guests, hey, can you repeat that again? Because I want to make sure my audience got what you're saying. But you understand at the end of the show, that's it. And then
That's
people
it.
can tune in you live. People are starting to take but to bring people on to their listeners. They're starting to bring them in and let them
Yes.
ask questions. I noticed one of the uh, hosts used to be at CNN, and now he has a podcast. Don
Mhm.
Lemon. He's starting to to take guests and let them come on and ask questions. So he's making his podcast more interactive, opposed to just a guest and a host. Now he's building on top of what he's already built. So I think we have to always figure out how do we make our podcast stronger, better, more interesting.
Mhm.
And and I emphasize this to people all the time. If there's no story, what are you doing? What is the story? What are you trying to say to somebody? How are you uplifting somebody, or how are you empowering somebody, or how are you changing lives?
Absolutely. Just starting out, um, excuse me, even being obedient, because when I started with a different name. And for some reason, I struggled with that name because I was looking at it as being a play on words. But what I realized, they wasn't getting it. And then thank God for team, having a team, because when you said, listen, it helped really give me the name Morning Brew.
Hmm.
I say, listen, it's morning somewhere, right?
Hmm.
But help giving that name to start identifying the platform, and also pour into purpose. Take a moment, you know, so you can pour into purpose. It became the tagline, the mantra, and now, the merchandising.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what's key. You know, there's something that they do. Maybe they do in all churches, but this the churches I grew up in, they would
Uh-huh.
always say to the audience after a sermon, you have to take the first step and let God do the rest. If you
Yes.
never take that first step, God is waiting on the sideline for you to say, I'm ready. And once you make that commitment, not only to God, but to yourself, whatever you're doing, it's
Yes.
just being a mentor to a lot of young people. You're making a step. But the thing what we have to understand, the reason why obedience is important, because once you start doing something and you disappear, you're
Hmm.
disappointing an entire group of people, whether it's mentorship,
Yeah.
podcasting, or whatever. People get locked into 10:30. So they may be driving in their car, they may be on the train, they say, oh, let me tune into Morning Brew. When Morning Brew is not there, they're going like, wait, what happened?
What?
Now, may
Exactly.
they may forgive you for one or two times not being there and not doing a show, but after a
Yes.
while, you giving them an opportunity to switch over to somebody else. And what if they lock into
Absolutely.
somebody else at 10:30? So now
Absolutely.
you
What
got
do
to
you
make
do?
sacrifices to
Yeah.
try to win them back over. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you know the one thing I don't focus on, I don't really focus on the numbers. And the reason why is because Morning Brew has been so much for me. The messages that I bring forward, I'm first partaker in the messages. It's been something that's helped to fuel and motivate me and uplift me and just encourage me. And so, like we always talk about, it's like present the platform and let people just eavesdrop in on it. And that's what I realized. You don't know who's watching. You don't know where people are watching from and how you may be inspiring and encouraging their day.
You
Excuse
you
me.
yeah, you know there's a podcast summit I go to every year, that's put on by David Shands, and
Yes.
he talked about that at the podcast summit last year. He had done 52 shows, and maybe he got 10 people watching it, 5 people, sometimes 0. But just before he was ready to give up, he got one guest on, and he
Mm,
doesn't even know why to this day that guest went viral. Then everybody went back and started watching the previous shows, and then his numbers started going up and up. And again, I go back to what I said early in this conversation. Sometimes when we're working really, really, really hard, the
mhm.
universe can test us. Let's see
Right.
if you're serious about what you're doing. But sometimes, and a lot of people give up just before the blessing is about to happen.
Yes.
If you just hung on just a little longer, things would have exploded. Because also, we have to remember this: while we ask for something, we have to make sure we're prepared to receive it. That's our biggest thing. If somebody gave you $1 trillion today, would you know what to do with it besides spend it?
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
if
not.
somebody gave you 5 limos, would you be ready to start a limo business? So
Mm,
we ask for stuff,
good.
but then we have to go and prepare ourselves for things. Look, there's no way around putting in work for what we have to do. You have to put in the work, and you have to know. I always say this: when you start something, you start a cake business, a cake baking business.
Mhm.
Everything is perfect as long as everything is going right and the cakes are good. People are showing up buying the cakes. But what if you get an order for 10,000 cakes? Are you prepared to expand? Or what if you get no customers for a month? Or have you put a plan in
Mm,
place to say, how do I survive that low period where people are not buying cakes? And that's what anything that we do, we have to be prepared for the ebbs and flows of life. Because just the way we speak, we don't all speak up here or we don't all speak down there, but we speak up and down because that makes life interesting. And I think any business goes through those ups and downs and changes. And let me go over here and try this cake because I've been trying your cake for 15 years. Maybe you might lose that customer for a month or two. But if you study the course and you stay focused, that person will go, I'm back.
absolutely. That's
And those are
good.
things I think we have to look at and realize just because things don't seem like they're going well for you, but they actually are because you're building your foundation. And once you build your foundation, you're good, even in the low periods. But the most important things, people don't know how to enjoy the big moments. They keep saying, I want to be successful. I want to be successful. But what does that mean? Like people say,
And
oh, I
how does
wish
that
I was
look?
famous. People say, oh, I wish I was famous. Do you really want to be famous?
Ah,
Where you can't go
exactly.
out of your house? And then not
Absolutely.
only that, because now you presented yourself as this perfect person. The hair is always right, the suit is always right, the jersey's always right, the dress is always right. Now, every time you get ready to go out of your house, you got paparazzi taking your
Exactly.
picture. So now
It's
you
an
got to be
invasion.
on all the time. So sometimes what we ask, my mother used to say this when we were younger: be
Mhm.
careful what you ask for, because God may get out of the way and let you have it if you ask for it long enough.
I was just talking about that yesterday on Morning Brew. Beware of the desires of your heart because if they're not in alignment with God, you may open yourself up to something you really can't handle that takes you straight off course,
And
you know?
you know the most important thing we got to be aware of? What
Our
comes out
mouth.
of our mouth. Because
Yeah.
what comes out of our mouth, our mind doesn't always know the difference between if we're joking, playing, or we're serious. They just hear that. And the
Mhm.
mind goes to work until the mind goes, wait, I thought you were serious about this.
Mm.
Because that's why the Bible even talk about the power of the tongue.
Absolutely.
Because
Life
it's
and death.
what,
Life
yes,
and death.
absolutely it does. And what we say to, that's why, I had a therapist who helped me through something a few years ago. And she
Mhm.
came over actually to do a podcast. And for some
Okay.
reason, she stopped and said, I don't want to do the podcast. I want to talk to you. And she had me sit down and talk to her. I said, what are you doing? We got to do this. No, I need to talk to you because I'm sensing something is going on with you. And then she had me break things down.
Oh,
And
wow.
then once she heard my story, and she said, Charles, I need you to do affirmations every morning because the problem is that you're very successful, but you don't believe in yourself. You're
Mm.
living a facade. You're doing it, but you don't believe. Everybody around you believe you, and they think that you're great. But you do not believe
Wow.
who you are. She actually,
Wow.
one friend of mine actually used an explicit word and said, "You are the," starts with an S, but you don't believe it. You don't believe in who you are because you have imposter syndrome, and a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
But the
Yep.
affirmations are what's important. If you get in that, I heard Will Packer say this on a podcast a couple of days ago. He said he gets in the mirror every day and say, "I'm the best producer director in the world. Nobody can stand in my way," because the power of the tongue goes into the
Right.
brain, and if you repeat that long enough, guess what? You will do the work, and you will be the best at what you do.
You begin to believe it.
Yep.
You begin to believe it.
So
Listen,
that's my obedience is better than sacrifice.
that's your obedience is better than sacrifice. Listen, you know how to time yourself.
Yep. 'Cause I gotta get out of here and go to the next movement.
That's it. I do want to ask you this though. Many people struggle with moving forward because they keep looking back at fear, comfort, or past failures. What advice would you give to someone trying to walk fully in purpose without second guessing themselves?
Well, I would say two things. No
Hmm.
matter what, start walking. Just walk. Start
Absolutely.
moving in that direction. And
I
you
can
say, "Well, I'm
attest.
afraid." Do it anyway. There's a book out. I can't remember who wrote the book, but do it afraid. It's
Yes,
okay.
do it for
Look, I'm gonna say this before I go.
you. Hmm.
I've had a very successful career in the media industry
Hmm.
from back in the 80s to the 90s to now. Every single thing that I've ever done in this business, I've been afraid to do it, but I did it anyway. Because I always ask myself, what's the worst could happen? You fall on your face, people laugh at you, people call you stupid. Is that going to kill you?
Mm.
But the little nugget in that is that, what if it works?
What if it works? Yes.
And I'll leave you guys there.
I love that. I love that. I just want to say thank you over on Instagram, Riberio Jordana. Thank you so much for chiming in. These are all new people, and that's why just being obedient, showing up, people will start joining in and becoming a part of the community and the conversation. So, Charles, I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate you. We like
Mhm.
family. We are
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you are definitely an inspiration to me, a mentor to me, being a part of Morning Brew, becoming exactly what Morning Brew is becoming. So I kudos to you, hats off to you, and thank you for being a resident guest.
No, thank you. I'm looking forward to next month. I'll have some interesting things to talk about the whole Black Music Month. So be
Yes,
ready.
yes, yes. All right then. Well, until we talk next time, I'll talk to you later on today. Okay.
Yeah. Bye
Have a great one. Bye.
bye.
Oh my gosh, I love having Charles on because he is so full of wisdom. He's so wise. And so we thank him so much. Obedience. Let's talk about closing out. Okay. We're just going to bring it to a close because I don't really want to follow up behind him. I want to leave you with the things that he has said. And I just want to, in our final sip as we wrap up today, obedience often requires leaving behind what feels safe so we can step into what was meant for us. The blessing is rarely behind us, it's waiting on the other side of our eyes, of our yeses, our yeses. So, yes, today is a yes day. Have a great day. Thank you so much for chiming in. And remember, obedience is better than sacrifice. I'll see you tomorrow morning, Brew. Have a great day. Be safe, whatever it is you decide to do today. Thank you so much.